Liam Lynch, how are you?
Yo, I'm good. How you going?
Good. And today we're joined by a good friend of Rhubarb, Michael Graham. How are you, Michael?
Yeah, I'm ecstatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Liam, how are you?
Yeah, no, I've been pretty good, man. Just chilling and killing.
Yeah.
You know, doing my thing.
Yeah. Very good.
How about yourself, man?
Yeah, snapping necks, cashing checks, you know?
That's good.
Yeah.
That's
Snapping
good. In
neck.
this economy, you want to be cashing checks.
Yeah.
That always helps.
You know, like, I've been interested on Facebook in these agricultural videos that they have, and they're very, very bland. And they're from the early 40s, and, like, I just spam everybody with those because, like, I feel like if they think I'm hell into that,
There's something nuanced about it.
well, yeah, they'll think I'm hell, like, sort of sophisticated in, like, a traditional sense about
Very
how, like,
agricultured.
well, where economy starts, you know, like with agriculture.
Started with wheat, didn't it?
Well, exactly, like, but at the same time, like, I don't give a shit about this, and I don't give a shit. So, what you're watching on my Facebook is actually, it's just for my personal entertainment. I'm sorry. That's why I only have 200 plus friends. By the way, yeah.
So that's been
It's
keeping you
still a
busy,
good number.
just sharing
Well,
those videos.
Well, that keeps me busy, yeah. And you know, like, I spend my day like frequenting Centrelink Morley, but nah, I'm just kidding. I'm not. I'm employed, folks. Folks, I'm employed. Yeah. No. I
No
make.
dull bludgers.
Yeah. No. I wouldn't even say dull bludgers. I'd say, like, because actually,
A current affair would.
well, yeah.
But that's a current affair for you.
But Centrelink has saved my ass many a time, and it's always without an agenda. Like, I've grown up with people that may twist the system. I'm not a snitch because I don't have a stitch. But but for me, when I was studying and all the stuff like that, yeah, they helped me out, and I often woke up in the morning and I was like, man, I could be at a factory right now doing something horrible, but Centrelink was like, nah, we'll let you go to uni for art. Art.
And you create a lot of art now, right?
Yes, I do, but I didn't need to go to uni for that. And sorry if you're in uni right now. But an arts degree can let you down in that sense. But yes, I do create a lot of art, and I would anyway if I didn't go to uni. I went to TAFE too.
Oh, nice. Was that an arts study as well?
Yeah, I went up the road actually from here at Central Institute of Technology. And, you know, like, actually that was a really good part of my life because I met a lot of friends, still play with a lot of those people. For my ability to play drums, I got a lot of respect, and still now to this day, most of my work for playing drums comes from the people that know me from that pool of people. So
Yeah.
yeah. No, CIT up the road was really good. In fact, last year I even lived with a lecturer for most of the year because of the respect or whatever we had for each other at that place. So
Yeah, nice.
yeah.
And so you record music as well under Klaus Bass?
Yeah, so
Klaus Bass.
yeah, so ever since I lived in Como with my grandma, I used to care for her. That's when I seriously got into music production, and I bought a MacBook Pro, and that's when I started my own journey into sound producing, making music, and stuff that I'd learned from classical, like, lessons from playing the drums. So I built on things based on what I learned from when I was a kid. And I came from a rhythm area. A lot of people come from a melody area that I work with today. Like, the parents got them piano lessons or guitar lessons or, stuff like that. But I came from drums, which is a non-melodic instrument. And you get a lot of flack for being a drummer when you start because everyone else has scales, keys, and, things across the melody board. You just have rhythm.
You got TTs and tatas.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly right. And so you don't get no respect from that. Until, I think you expand your mind and start to like at least explore into composition, and I highly recommend anyone to do that. That's playing drums right now.
Tell us a bit more about class bass and what you do with that, and, like how that took shape and what kind of music you play.
So at the moment, one of my friends from childhood, Marco, he sent me a Spotify playlist on things that he'd been listening to, which is dub techno or dub music. And at the time, my girlfriend was in Kenya, and I was driving to work, and usually she comes with me because she goes out afterwards, but she doesn't like the music in the car very loud because she likes to talk to me and tell me all the things that a woman tells you when she loves you and blah, blah, blah. And you're driving, and you happen to be trying to have a peaceful drive, and then obviously she has a sort of, I don't know, advice for you. Free advice, of course. But anyway, she wasn't there, so I'd be able to crank the beats, and Marco sent me this podcast, and it's like this modern dub. And it's more of a, I don't know, European influenced dub compilation. And I'd listen to this every day on the way to work and back. And I'd been doing that for a few weeks. And because my girlfriend is also from Kenya, a lot of her Afrobeat music that she's shown me has influenced my take on what I'm doing now rather than when I was before, when I released the first album. So that's me now. Yeah.
So it's kind of like a mishmash of early dub influence thrown with a little bit of Afrobeat and sort of that sort of thing mixed in.
Yeah.
In terms of like maybe not the sounds, but more like the way you're composing everything.
See, in the first album, when I was working and living in Perth City on Adelaide Terrace, I was focused on texture in music. I discovered texture, and I put everything I could into making the different tracks textured differently. Before that, I was focused on melodic composition. Now I'm focused on, once I've got that down, focusing on compositional dynamics with texture. I think texture is very important because it sits your art in a certain place. Like my music, might not appeal to many people, but at the same time, when I hear it at the right time of the night, we're on the right sound system, and it's crunchy, and it's it takes me to a certain place. So that's what I put into the first album. Then the next one I'm doing has evolved compositionally, and I have a technique down now that I use for editing, and it's inspired by this artist Phineas 2 on SoundCloud, which is a modern take on 90s jungle. And he crushes his stuff down to 8 bits, and I really dig that Amiga 2000 sound, and that's sort of the things that I think about now when I create that music. Yeah.
So it's a lot of. Do you use mainly production software like soft synths, or do you have a lot of analog hardware synths?
Whatever I record on, whether it is the Dave Smith Instruments Tempest or Logic or GarageBand even, now that I've upgraded my iMac and Apple's like, nah, you can't use the thing that you've used for the last 12 years. You need to upgrade. I'm like, nah, man, I don't need to upgrade. You're just trying to sell me. Trying to sell my computer out. I just paid $2,000. What are you talking about? Anyway, that aside, yeah, no, like whatever it is I'm using, it will be a 4-track. The first album I recorded on was on a literal cassette 4-track. The ones that I do now, I tend to use all kinds of things. I'm into mini disc as well.
You were telling me you had the largest collection of mini discs. Was it in Australia or in Western Australia?
Or at least in Western Australia.
So remind me, and this might be showing my naivety, because when mini discs were around, I was pretty young. They were the smaller CDs, so like the 7-inch companion to the CD, you know, in a way, but they're in the plastic case, and it was like a floppy disk almost, but
there's like one of those PSP games, like a UMD.
Yeah.
A UMD is a very good example of what the technology of a mini disc essentially is. It's basically like it's a floppy disk with a CD inside.
Yeah.
And the little gateway opens so the laser can read the information. Sorry. I breathe through my nose. With a mini disc, the information is processed through it's like a light source into the from source to source. Well, I forget what it's called now, that technology. It's is it laser or that direct plug-in you do to optical, sorry, yeah, optical. It's based on optical audio, and also the codec that it's converted into is pretty close to lossless.
Yeah,
so it sounds really nice, actually. A mini disc.
So they're a better, like, because I believe there's a channel that I think you put me onto, actually. It was Techmoan, yeah? And he talks a lot about mini discs on Techmoan.
Techmoan is the most amazing channel that I've ever seen.
I've watched Techmoan for quite a few years now. Yeah,
I binged it hard.
I binged Techmoan. Like I'm finished.
He loves mini discs. He talks a lot about them.
Mini disc is awesome because the medium you're playing on has like no problem with exposure to the elements. It's in a plastic case.
They're much more portable in that sense.
Yeah, so you can drop it, you can scratch it. Nothing happens to it unless you open like the floppy disk type of gate and scratch on the inside of the medium.
And the audio quality is better than the CD as well. Is that correct?
it's really good. And like you can get a 1 gigabyte, which are really expensive now, but 1 gigabyte mini disc for recording on, and it's basically like, to me anyway, like not for the experts out there that are jumping up and down, no. For me, I dig the quality. It sounds like WAV to me. So, whatever. That's what I prefer. That's what I like. I like the technology. Like,
where do you get blank mini discs from? Because I hear, like in Japan, much like a lot of formats that have like now dead and gone, like Laserdisc, for instance, they were like they sort of hung on to mini disc like a lot longer, right? And it also in Europe, is that right? In the UK, in particular? Yeah. So there must be like a fair few like mini discs still getting around.
America and maybe Australia and South Africa are the only places that mini disc wasn't a huge medium, and I mean like massive. I had this relative that came over from Belgium or something with the first time I saw one, and it was a Sony mini disc, and I couldn't believe, because we were using a Discman that would skip in the kitchen if you walked on the floorboards. Like, he was using this mini disc and he was playing drum and bass, and I was like, well, that's like the future. Anyway, it was only really big in Europe. The reason I have such a big collection is because I have a very good friend that I'll talk about also in this podcast later that has a connection that wanted to get rid of most of the mini discs that they had. So I have I'd say about 600 mini discs and 4
Of various albums. Or do you mean
Blank.
blank ones? Blanks?
I don't have any pre-recorded mini discs because they're so expensive. Like, I would love to have the Michael Jackson collection, but each one is like over $100.
Yeah,
And
wow.
So, and also the sound quality on pre-recorded mini discs is subpar to you recording off of vinyl or CD.
So is the whole... So, like, is it kind of, like, similar to the way people use reel-to-reel tape? Because obviously they made pre-recorded reel-to-reel tapes. Like, you could buy an album on reel-to-reel. But I don't know how expensive they were back
Some
then.
of the
But now,
major,
yeah, like, so to give you an example, it's like, what is it? It's the 50th anniversary of Woodstock. You could buy, like, the Woodstock album compilation on reel-to-reel. I think I've seen it on Discogs. But you're looking at, like, $100. But most people I've met who have reel-to-reels buy the blanks, and then they record from vinyl onto their reel-to-reel, and they make compilations. Is that what you sort of do with mini discs?
Well, see the thing, not in the way you're talking about, in a similar way, mini disc and reel-to-reel are close because only a certain amount of artists that were on the label that could, like Sony, could be put on mini disc.
Because they own the format.
Yeah, Sony owned the format of mini disc. So at the same time,
it's like with Blu-ray. Every time an Xbox plays a Blu-ray, that's why you got to install the plugin so they don't have to pay the royalty.
is that right?
Microsoft and HD.
you know,
DVD,
I've thought
of course.
about
Yeah,
that.
Microsoft, the 360 had a HD DVD player in it, but
I remember that.
the Xbox One has a Blu-ray.
Mm.
But yeah, that's why you got.
That
It's
was
always
like
a
the-
free plugin, but you got to download it because that's the trigger for them to pay the royalty to Sony for the Blu-ray technology.
So they count how many downloads they've had. And
Holy shit, I learned something.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Remember the Xbox dongle if you want to play
Yeah.
DVD on the Xbox? Same reason. That was just
No
basically
way.
like I've paid for the royalty.
That's amazing.
So,
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail what you were about to say.
No. But getting back to that, so reel to reel
Mm.
was similar because they only released absolute classics on reel to reel commercial available
Stuff
tape.
they knew was going to sell. is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
like
Yeah.
you can get Beatles on there, but you couldn't get someone like
They wouldn't be taking a risk
Frank
on.
Zappa or Beef Hart or Tom Waits. You can't get them. And FYI, if there are those reel-to-reel tapes out there, I'm just using this as a metaphor for something more.
There's some Zappa collector out there who's like,
Someone will
actually,
email us, I'm sure. correct
my
you.
point is that it was more for like a select amount of releases.
Mm.
So those two mediums are similar in that way. With mini discs, though, I don't know. It's very easy to record on. It sounds awesome. It's super fun. You feel like you're on the Starship Enterprise when you're putting music in.
Yeah, that
It's-
would be pretty sick.
They
it
click
is.
nicely on
Recording
your
to a
belt.
cartridge.
They just look awesome.
Yeah.
They're one of the things like vinyl that when you see someone using it, you're like, damn, I wonder what that is. I want to use that, you know? So yeah, I have a lot of mini discs. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And what synthesizers do you use?
What's that?
Because you mentioned that you're recording electronic music, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you use a Dave Smith,
Yeah, so there's two. I have two like sort of routes that I take, and using the Dave Smith Tempest is awesome because
and what is the Tempest? Because is it like a kind of all-in-one work desk kind of instrument, or is it
It's
like where you
like-
can record to it, or
it's like if someone got a drum machine
yeah,
and then a Prophet,
yep,
any Prophet, and then made them into one thing, and then put the most unuser-friendly interface
Yeah.
on it that is written like an engineer would understand, and it's like, okay, go for that. You have endless possibilities, but you have to figure it out.
Menu diving.
Yeah.
My housemate's got a Mofo, and I've given up on it so many times.
Are these patch cable synthesizers?
No, this
'Cause
one is
It's like
totally-
digital routing, but it is analog, right? But
it's
digitally
completely
routed.
analog with digital sampling.
Yeah.
So it has 2 voices plus digital sampling. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for instance, you've got to look at it like the best way to explain it to someone is like,
To a layman, because I know nothing about synths.
okay, so it's like you have an empty slate and you choose your drum sounds from a memory bank in this empty slate. And so you have like an 808 kick and a 909 snare, and you might have like a real drum set hi-hat, and you're like, okay, so I'm going to make a beat out of this. The machine will record that, what we call quantizing.
Oh, so that's when it basically like tidies up the rhythms.
It moves all your notes that you've performed physically into the time signature that you've chosen based on it being on proper time. So when we say quantizing, it means that it's about alignment into modern,
Just making
common
sure
time.
that every beat is metronome-like, essentially.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So you make your beat, and then you decide whether or not, based on the algorithm in the machine that shows you what tempo is, you choose your tempo. So you go your beat playing, and then you go into synthesizer mode, and then you choose your bass notes. So then you've got 2 tracks. Then you can choose a third and a fourth based on how much these voices can put out all at the one time. And that's when you get into an interesting situation with it, because you have artifacts that come in once you push the machine past the capabilities that it was built to make. So yeah, that's the Tempest, and it's one of the most fun things. No regrets buying.
So it's kind of like it allows you to sort of just individually track different instruments or different sounds over one another, like create a song on 4 tracks.
Essentially I'd say it'd be 4 tracks, yeah. Bass,
It's a 4 voice.
2 voice, and 2 digital sample oscillators.
Right, so the
Yeah.
digital samplers are their own kind of voices. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you ever going back to what you were saying about quantizing? I was there's an interesting video online about Jay Dilla and how he never used quantizing. Like, I can't remember the name of the sample machine. It was like an Akai, one of those big grey things with the 9 pads on it.
Okay, MPC.
MPC, yeah, that's
3000.
that's the
or
one.
2000.
MPC 3000.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how he like humanized it in a sense, where he would hand sample everything to the beat in his head, but he wouldn't quantize it, and like that would allow for his music to take on a bit more, like a bit of a different sound.
Yeah, like there's nothing more boring than listening to what people say EDM, which is like the most stupid acronym or whatever you'd call it for describing a genre of music. Anyway, beside that, when people say EDM, you go to a club and you just hear this 4 to the floor beats. It's so boring and it's predictable, blah, blah, blah. When you come to Jay Dilla's music, thing I appreciate about especially Donuts is like his use of samples and sound layering, not so much his choice of drum sample or beat. It's his use of sound layering that I think is really good, and his sampling and it's like he can tell a story in that album based on the vocals and the movement of the tune. So that's what I like about that.
There's a hidden message apparently in that album, Donuts, as well, because he recorded it. Do you know about much about that album?
I know it was recorded while he was passing away, basically.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So
as he was on his deathbed, and then he passed away right after it released.
Yeah, like 2 days afterwards.
Yeah.
Apparently. But I don't know if it's a confirmed thing, but there's like a lot of talk online about how there was like a hidden message within the vocal samples. So if you listen to it from start to finish, and the whole album loops as well. It starts with the outro and finishes with the intro, so you can actually loop the whole thing infinitely.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, apparently.
Well,
but,
my favorite song off that album is actually The Real Slim Shady. I think when he like made that song and he became the character of Eminem, oh man, what a creative genius.
Sorry, which album?
I'm just kidding, man.
I thought we were talking about Donuts.
Yeah, we're talking about Donuts. I'm pulling shapes here. Pulling shapes out of nowhere.
All
Sorry,
right.
folks.
Just chucked a doughy.
It's
Yeah.
just my
Ran rings
sense of
around you.
humor.
Just threw me off guard there.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
So, yeah, J Dilla Donuts. What other, like, obviously, what are they? Like, you got DJ Shadow,
Shadow is
Oh,
a
Shadow.
prime example.
J Dilla, the Avalanches.
Which Shadow would
Oh,
be the
Avalanches.
Avalanche is
Who are
great.
some other, like, in your opinion,
Purely sample based.
purely sample based artists, like the greatest?
John T.
John T.
John T is a genius. This dude. Have you guys heard of John T?
I've heard the name, but I've not ventured into
JONTE,
it.
right?
JONTI.
Is that him there?
That's Shadow.
Yeah. Right.
No.
Okay.
No, so may or may not have heard of John T. Enlighten me.
Okay, John T is this Australian artist that originates from South Africa. And anyway, I was doing sign writing with my uncle. And my uncle used to listen to RTR, well, still does, all the time. And he said, I won this competition and they sent me the CD. He's like, you'll like it, but I don't really like it. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a listen. Gives me the CD. It's called Twirly Gig. I was like, okay, that's like a hell funny name. Would have never have thought about that. And anyway, I played the CD and I was like, holy shit, this is the most creative thing I've heard in ages. And when I heard that, I would have been 19, living with my grandma, and I was just obsessed with this guy's album. When I moved to Sydney a while later, I went and saw him play in I think it was King's Cross or something like that, and he's on Stone's Throw by then. I think Twirly Gig was released on Stone's Throw. Yeah, it was. And it was just so creative, so emotive, so it's like a journey. Like, that album and that guy is so underrated. And like, since those days, I think he was around 70,000 views on his single from that album, but he's dropped down a bit, and it's because he sort of has a modern take on like hip hop and like sampling and mashing it all together. It's like the artist Fleming Ghosis, who I really like, but crazier, better samples. It is just awesome. And
Where can you check him out?
just type in John T, JONTI on Google.
It must be Bandcamp or something like that.
Oh, he's on Stone's Throw.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
Stone's Throw Records.
Yeah. So which is obviously like a seminal record, like with Butterfingers and
Picturing the logo on my head right now.
MF Doom and all
Everyone's
those.
seen it.
Junty is awesome. Yeah, big influence on me, for sure. He uses the MPC 500, I think.
Which is that same machine.
I think it's
that
the
Dilly is,
ultra
yeah.
cheap version of that machine. Yeah. And
Dilly's
I
is
used to
in
have
the-
one. I used to have to smash it to get any sound out of it.
Yeah, they're not
Like-
all that reliable.
Proper, like, jump off the side of the ring, boom, on the key.
Elbow drop it.
Elbow drop it to get a sample, yeah.
Dillis is behind glass in the Smithsonian, apparently.
Yeah. That's
which
the
is-
time we live in now, you know, like, okay. Jay Dilla. Oh, Mamma Mia. Yes, he's very talented. But you talk about Smithsonian, probably has works from Debussy, Mozart, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying that these people are even related musically, but I think, like, the regard for what we consider the pinnacle of being an artist isn't the same as we used to, and that's why I listen to Debussy, the French composer, because it takes you back to the sophistication of what was expected at the time musically. What we have now is a free-for-all, and it's for the better of art. But what I believe is the constriction on, like, that art back then in Debussy's time, you know, like, it really drove, like, intricacy, and you couldn't be sloppy, and you create these pieces that are performed for people, and you're like a certain level in society as an artist, and things we've lost over time. Yeah, I don't like to compare modern artists to old artists, and I think in the Smithsonian I could be, like, wrong, but at the same time, like, comparing old to new, nah, it's a different time. What's expected is different, but we still enjoy the same things in the same way. I don't know if that makes sense, but
No, I'm with you on that. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes
there's
sense.
there's no way you can compare Claire de Lune to, like, Dear Mama by Tupac, you know. They're still fucking, sorry for swearing,
No, it's alright.
awesome
It's-
songs,
Yeah.
but the level of, yeah, it's just different. You can't compare.
100%.
Mm.
100%.
And going off the music production side of things, you also, and this kind of loops into what, you know, Rhubarb does, is you master for vinyl.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. The allegations are correct. You're a vinyl masterer.
Yeah, so what I think might be the 5th or the 6th one I've done for Rhubarb.
Good, you mastered the Rhubarb Jams.
Yeah.
Vinyl.
That's right, yeah. See, like, that's a technological side to music that I also explore. I explore many different pathways, but that's when I lock into one, I'll do that one. And when Dylan says, hey, you want to do this, I'll do it. But the difference between me is, like, I've grown up with mentors, I'd say, like Laurie Sinagra. Laurie Sinagra is a mentor. Even Matt Delahanty has been a mentor to me, and all this sort of education you get from people helps you adapt that technological side to learning audio to, like, the human side of that. So, for instance, an example is if you hear the mastering behind Icehouse, the album Man of Colors, to the mastering of Illmatic by Nas. Different approaches are what's needed. You can't master a song like Electric Blue to a song that Nas has done. It's
You
completely
can't you
different
can't
genre.
saturate the drums in reverb because it's not the 80s.
Oh, Dylan just pointed out he has Man of Colors. Oh, what a classic.
On coloured vinyl too, probably.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I cleaned that
Oh,
one
is it
the
just
other day.
black? Oh, still. How much is that, Dylan? Oh, sold.
Nice.
So, yeah, Crazy is my favorite song on that album. I love it.
That's a tune, that one.
I
I always sing that song to my girlfriend. She hates it.
I know, it's like a biography, man, for me. It's like when a girl takes interest in you. Thank you, brother. A girl takes interest in you, like, a part of you goes, oh, shit. Like, there must be kind of some hole in... If I saw me, I'd keep walking, man. Oh shit!
Great.
There's a hole in her judgment, Tracy. If you're listening, this is our showbiz. I love you. Nah, but yeah, like when a girl actually likes you, like really likes you, and you're like, shit, like.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about all
know
this
that feeling.
stuff? She obviously doesn't realize it. What is wrong with her? I didn't
And
even
the
check.
cycle continues.
Tracy, I didn't even check my letterbox. Someone else from work empties my letterbox for me because I don't open it. He does it out of kindness, for real. The dude shows up to pick me up from work, and he goes through my letterbox and throws it in the bin. And he's like, every week, he's like, oh, yeah, you haven't emptied your letterbox again. I'm like, why would I when I know you're going to do it for me?
He's probably stolen your identity.
Oh, I don't care. He can steal my identity. It will, like, accumulate my debt as well.
Very cool. That's been the plan all along.
Yeah, that's the plan. You don't want to take my bank account. You'll just be in debt. Nah, but yeah, back to artistry. It's quite phenomenal.
So when you're mastering a vinyl, what's like the difference between mastering for digital as opposed to mastering for vinyl? What are you approaching differently? What are you bringing down? What are you boosting? What are you?
Okay, so before I even explain my my take on doing this, there's going to be a lot of people out there that disagree with my methods. That's just part of...
That's part of the internet. And
that's the internet for you. I mean, like, I've been watching a lot of, like, videos on the internet about cooking and all kinds of stuff. There's experts out there that will say, oh, you didn't fry the egg for 0.1 of a second. Like, oh, it's going to make it rubbery. Oh, get the fuck out of here. Step to me, I'll smash you. No, sorry. I'm just... I'm taking the piss. I'm not a violent person, guys. Anyway.
Did you just call out Gordon Ramsay?
Oh, yeah, man. I love Gordon Ramsay's stuff. He's just... Oh, he just tells them how it is, and they're all like, oh, I thought my food was good. Because, dude, where I work, we get free food. And I love watching Gordon Ramsay stuff. And every time the food rolls out, I mean, I appreciate getting free food. I really, really do. It makes life so much easier. But when they roll out spaghetti for the third time in a row, I'm like, is this a fucking Italian hospital? Are we in Italy? Why are we having spaghetti 3 days in a row? What the hell? Anyway, that aside, final mastering. Yeah, there's a certain amount of frequency range you can work within above and below. What you got to know is what sounds good in that range, what you need to hear, what you like when you pull that out of a WAV file, especially new bands, like that aren't recorded on, they're recorded on computers. So basically, the frequency range is infinite. There's frequencies we can't hear as humans because microphones, doors are so sensitive. They can pick up all this stuff. All that stuff means nothing. It's the things that matter that you need to hear. So for instance, if you're going to master a vinyl, you need to know what's important, and you need to listen to that song over and over and over and over and over again and find what you like about it. And that's what I do every single time. I'll listen to a song about 8 times before I make a decision on how I'm going to master it. And when, like with Rhubarb, when there's a compilation and all your source material is from different people, it makes it a very big job because, like, okay, so I did Stephen Bailey's record. That was a dream because it was all from the same source material, same microphone, same tapes, blah, blah, blah. It all had a similar bass line. When you have multiple source material, every decision you make on mastering something is different. And how it fits with the next one, because the volume is different. Is it mastering you're doing about being loud? Is it about dynamically affecting the track? I don't know. It's up to the listener, really. But my take on it is the dynamics need to be dynamic. The loud parts need to be loud. Yeah, it's sort of common sense stuff, but applied to the artistry. You need to understand the artist as well, I reckon.
Yeah.
Like the song. For most of the songs Dylan picks, I really like them. But say someone gives you a song that you hate, that's always going to be a barrier in the way that you do something the best you can, because you have doubts about it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of, I don't know, I feel like in modern music, like the mill of pop music and such, it's just, feels,
manufactured,
and there's not that laboring of love over the sound and drawing certain characteristics out from the sound of how a guitar rings out on the last.
It's just about drilling out a single to make some money.
Yeah.
So it's not like there's no artistry in it because it's essentially just
it's a product.
It's a product. Yeah, it's like a can of Coke. It's no different to anything that you buy off the shelf.
People said that about Never Mind the Bollocks by the Sex Pistols. And I was listening to that today in the car and driving around Yokine.
Another one. Dylan, this whole conversation we haven't addressed. Oh, actually, Michael did a moment ago, but
it's a commercial.
Throughout this episode, Dylan's pulled out records of different albums that have been mentioned as he stacks the shelves, presenting it like he's on Wheel of Fortune. Your prize.
So, Never Mind the Bollocks. Some people in the punk scene think whether you can even envelope punk into a scene is sort of existentially
that's right,
ironic based on the politics of what you're doing, but people say Never Mind the Bollocks is a boy band album. I was listening to that today in the car, listening to Bodies, and Bodies is a heavy as shit song, and the theme of the song is abortion. And I was listening to that and I was like, whoa, 1977, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry.
No, 77, that's right.
77, yeah. For this album to come out in 77, when you've got Fleetwood Mac's 75 Rumours, and this thing is topping the charts in England. I mean, boy band or not, your goal has been achieved exponentially, whatever method it was to produce that album. And I think that that album, Nevermind the Bollocks, is awesome for that. Especially, yeah, like Bodies and Anarchy in the UK, and like, yeah. Oh man, I was listening to that today, and I was like, I knew why when my auntie from France gave me that CD as a present when I was 12 years old. That shit made my summer. That record made my summer. Like, it was energy. It was just like raw power. And then people say, oh, it's a boy band that was created by Malcolm McLaren. Maybe it was, but the emotion was encapsulated in that record. Oh man.
No one could accuse Malcolm McLaren of, being anything that fits within the norm anyway. So even, let's just say, for argument's sake, that Sex Pistols were a boy band and they weren't manufactured by, like, the head of Capitol Records. Like, Malcolm McLaren was still a fucking far out dude.
Yeah.
You've only got to listen to his... his
Buffalo
albums.
Girls, man. Oh, that's a great song.
I would have what's that? He did like a semi like a proto hip hop album even.
Yeah, that was Buffalo Girls. Yeah.
And like a lot of African influence in that as well. There's I didn't even know fuck all about Malcolm McLaren really, but I saw that track and that film clip pop up on Rage late at night. And I was like, "Fuck, man, this is."
Oh, this scratching is making me itch.
It's bizarre and just so creative and off the wall. I mean, probably none of the ideas are original, but what he was doing was just like, it was like an audible collage essentially.
So, you've delved in production to mastering on audio, but you also do video. You have your own media company, but where does your documentary sit? And for those that aren't aware, you directed shot, directed, edited and obviously with other people helping you out from what it seems. But David Liebe Hart,
yeah. So
when he came to town, and you turned that into a documentary. So what's it called
And
again?
for those of us that don't know, for those of you who listening who don't know who David Liebe Hart is.
So
yes, sorry. We should probably establish that first.
Yeah. Actually, let's let Michael answer that question.
So if someone
give us the full rundown, because I did a terrible job at opening that up. So
if I had to explain who David Liebe Hart is, I'd say that he is a mentally handicapped person from a long time ago that has seemed to use his
his edge.
Use his sort of like handicap to his advantage, and to a certain point now where when I spent time with him before he came, I was guessing whether he was just the most ultimately awesome actor of all time, and this was a character that he was doing.
That's what I always assumed.
Yeah, it was.
You would be
real.
forgiven for assuming that because he's on that show Tim and Eric, so which a lot of people would be familiar with.
Yeah, so
which is
Liebe
a comedy
Hart.
show.
David Liebe Hart was on a show from, I don't know, about 5 years ago called Tim and Eric. Awesome show, great job. Which is also like one of my favorite shows. But he was a puppet guy on there. But it goes deeper than that, so feel free to ask me anything. So I made this documentary of my friend Seymour. And so these guys have seen it, and you can access it too at just type in LIEBE space boobs on YouTube. Yeah.
So tell us about how did you get the opportunity to meet David Liebe Hart and spend some time with him and shoot a documentary with him? How did that?
And for the audience, just to preface that, the documentary is that you follow Liebe Hart around while he was in Perth and hang out with him and document what.
Did he
what
stay with
happens.
you?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He stayed with me for 3 days.
So so this is a short documentary about that experience. So
Yeah.
tell us about how that came about.
So, in 2015, was it 15? Yeah, around then, 15. 2015, one day I woke up with a hangover. And I was like, oh my God. Anyway, I was like doing my usual thing was if I was hungover, I'll watch Tim and Eric. And because it's such, like, I don't know, blunt, like, absurd comedy that it's perfect because you don't have to think about it. You just look at it and you're like, huh. Like, it's a cheap
You don't
laugh.
have to try and make sense of it
Yeah.
because it's not meant to.
It's
Yeah,
absurd.
exactly. You
It's
just-
completely absurd.
It's like, yeah, it's like the cash cow for if you want to have a good time in a short time. Anyway,
That's a good way
Yeah,
to
and-
describe it.
It is a very
In
good
a-
way to look at it.
in
It
a
is very much-
G-rated sense, I mean, you can go to the Rub and Tug for $40. I don't blame you. But, yeah. But in the same way, but not the same way, I sent, when in this hungover state, David Liebe Hart's production company an email, and I said, hey, if you ever think about doing some kind of show in Australia, you can always stay at my house. Me thinking that it was sort of a joke because I had no idea what kind of financial situation this guy was in, whether it was a joke or not. But I said you can stay at my house.
And you still never knew whether he was serious or whether he was...
No,
because
I didn't.
Tim and Eric doesn't tell you that. So
Yeah.
this was a complete shot in the dark.
Which is at the same time a reason why I sort of regret being a part of the outsider sort of focus on the characters, you know, because in Tim and Eric, you're not sure if it's real or not, so it's like it's got a magic to it.
Yeah.
And then once you delve deep into this thing, it's not so magical anymore. It's literally like serious stuff. So, for instance, I sent him the email and then heard nothing back. A year later,
A year later.
a whole year later, I
Wow.
get this message and it's like, hi, this is Jonah. I'm David Liebe Hart's manager. We're going to do a national tour of Australia and we're wondering if when we do the Perth show, can we stay at your house? And I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. I was like, I said to my girlfriend at the time, I was like, see, my weird ass ideas do work out. Now we have fucking David Liebe Hart gonna stay with us from Adult Swim in Los Angeles in America. That's how it felt at the time. That short burst of like, whoa, I'm like 1 degree away from Tim and Eric.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In the degree sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so in that year, wait, it was a bad year for me. I couldn't get employed. It's the whole thing of like, you're so skilled, but you can't get a job because you haven't had experience in that job. Anyway, it was shit, and so I ended up getting this job emptying shipping containers. And the day he was arriving, they asked me to do this double shift, and I was like, I could earn $300. I'll go pick up David Liebe Hart. Like, I actually thought about that because that's how poor I was at the time. And I was like, no, I'll never be able to do this again, and why would I ever promise someone to meet them and leave them alone? But that's the situation I was in. Anyway, pick up the guy. Oh, no, before that, this guy from my lecturer from uni, he was going to be helping me. And then last minute, while I was actually emptying containers the day before, he calls me and he's like, "Oh, I can't do the David Liebe Hart thing again. Oh, I can't do the David Liebe Hart thing." I was like, "Damn, like, it's like 5 minutes before he comes." And he's like, "Call this guy. Call this guy. He'll be able to do it." So I call this guy, Seymour. Seymour arrives. He's like this weird tall guy. And I'm sitting on the, like, balcony of my house. He comes in, and he's the guy that's helping me. From the get-go, we had to become friends and meet David Liebe Hart and create this narrative with it and everything, and it all happened. So that was really cool.
So you went to the airport. You met David.
Yeah, and
Did he have an entourage, or was it just him?
Nah, it was him and his manager, and one of the first things...
What was that request that he had for you? Sorry, what were you about to say?
Well,
Was that what you were about to say?
Well, what you see on the documentary is legitimately the first time I met him. So he comes through the gate and he's like, "Oh, I want you to take me to a hobby shop." That's the first thing he said. I said hi to him. "How's it going?" And he said, "I want you to take me to a hobby shop." And I was like, I had a microphone with a XLR cord on it to the camera, and it was really old school way of presenting. It was like 80s news or some shit. and I was like, "Okay, yeah, we can do that." And then cut. And yeah, so right when he arrived to right when he left, it was a fucking,
Just bizarre experience. So that was the first thing he said to you. Didn't say hello, didn't say... And just, "I want to go to a hobby shop."
Mm-hmm.
So, presumably then, straight from the airport, you went to a hobby shop.
No, we didn't. Because when he arrived, it was like 5 p.m.
Yeah.
And the hobby shops are all closed by then.
Yeah.
So I had to explain to him, like, "Dude, we'll do it maybe tomorrow or whatever." So when he arrived, we all got in the car, and then he wanted to do this, we were looking for a place to interview him, and we went through, actually, like, Northbridge, and we got out of the car. And in that drive, he was unloading all this stuff about Tim and Eric that I can't say now, and is on video. That is just absolutely like, it's...
Positive stuff?
No, it's not.
I've heard him grief about them before.
The problem with David is, like, when we made this film, it's like we had 24 straight hours of him in 3 days. Just 24 hours of him ranting about everything. When he's with you, his conversation starts here and ends in a different place from where it started. So when you're editing the video,
You don't know where.
you have to... It took us 6 months to cut this down into 20 minutes. Like, it actually did.
To make it coherent.
Yeah, to
like,
make a coherent story
yeah.
from start to finish. It took us 6 months.
Well, you did a really good job. Like, I
Fantastic
really
job
enjoyed watching it.
considering.
It's a great
Well, the thing... Okay, so, like...
movie.
Okay, so... This is the first, and I've been wanting to say this for ages. Jonah, the manager of David Liebe Hart, he is a talented music producer himself.
Okay.
And he makes the modern David Liebe Hart tunes that he tours with around the world, including here, on Ableton, and he uses all the brand new tones and the, like... And coming from a producer's standpoint, from what we've talked about earlier, is like I really pay attention to that stuff. The thing that made David famous in the first part was his lo-fi 1980s Casio, like, compositional stuff. It's his aesthetic. I washed his fucking clothes when he came here. You know, like the first morning when David Liebe Hart stayed at my house, it was about 7 in the morning, right? And I just hear this, ah! And I'm like, I wake up and I'm like, oh shit, something's going down. I walk outside of the door, right? David Liebe Hart is in the bathroom. My housemate Fabia at the time, this like 38-year-old Italian woman, like how random. She's like, oh, I don't know what is going on. I don't know what is going on in there.
So was she walked in on David Liebe
Nah,
in the bathroom
she
or
did. No,
something?
no, she didn't walk in. Oh, something going on. I was like, hey, Miguchi, you don't worry. I was like, I'm going in there, okay? No, I didn't really like mock her at all. I just said, look, don't worry, I'm gonna sort this out. Anyway, I go in the bathroom. David Liebe Hart is standing under the hot water, and he's just got the hot water on in the shower, fully naked, and he's just like, ah, like screaming. I'm like, dude, and I had to like see his willy and stuff. I like turned the cold on, and I'm like, dude, this is how you work the shower, man. Like it's fucking obvious.
So it sounds
So
like
he
it would
didn't
have
even
been
know how to
really-
operate the shower. Like, got to
No.
the point of getting to the shower and getting the hot
yeah,
on,
he
but-
literally stood under the hot water screaming like in pain.
That would have
Like-
been. I'm now starting to grasp how much work it would have been
Mm-hmm.
to make this 20-minute documentary.
So then I took him. I had to take him out for breakfast every morning. At
Where'd you go?
At my own expense, or my girlfriend's expense at the time. Or in Victoria Park, we went to some cafe there. I used to live there. I don't remember it now, but they did breakfast anyway. Anyway, the cafe is full of white people, and David's obviously African American. And I get the breakfast, and like we'll sit down eating and stuff. And then he starts this rant about how African American people aren't good enough and black people are like a scourge or something to like society. And I'm sitting there like he's getting animated, so like it's loud. And like all these, and he starts using the N-word. And I'm like, I don't know what to do because he is black. So he can
Really
use that word,
Yeah.
but it's still turning heads, and I'm sitting here listening to this rhetoric about how he's actually German Irish or some shit. And like the dude is the dude is literally like an African American dude. If you've ever seen him, he is that color, and like we're white, and it's just like, you know, he thinks he's German Irish, so I don't know. And he was being really racist, and it was a weird paradigm for me because I'm like, I don't know.
Where do you begin responding to that? Like,
Yeah, I'd be stumped, honestly.
Because he was using the N-word, like, and this and that, like, full on, yeah, psycho. So
Was that anywhere close to like the most memorable moment that?
I had with him,
Yeah,
I think.
if you had to pick one, if you haven't
Mm.
mentioned it already.
See, what you see on the documentary is the best way to represent what he actually is like a person. But one of the coolest things about the documentary that is like what you're talking about is when we arrived at the park in East Perth, and he
is this the wedding?
yeah, and
Oh,
that
that
happened.
cracked me up. I was
Oi.
watching it, like rolling, because I was watching it on my Mac, but I was rolling on my bed laughing at that. That was the funniest by far
Hey.
moment.
That was when I knew that we were doing God's work, because we got out of the car. And then this all just took place like one after the other. And me and Seymour were looking at each other like, this is the motherlode jackpot of this film. We were like, and also shout out to Seymour because like I haven't talked about Seymour, but Seymour Davison is the guy that I made that with, and it was my idea, but I had to get to know that guy on day one, and from day one to day four, and then edit with him for 6 months. And Seymour Davison, and I've worked on another show that he's created called Squiggle, and I don't know when he's going to release it, but it's in the same vein as this one. It's really funny. It's awesome, but like...
I'll be keen to check that out, yeah.
Oh, it's so good. I just want him to... just to release it. Like, it's really good. Anyway, I just want to say, like, Seymour Davison... with my mind and his mind together, like, is amazing. Like, we can go anywhere, and it's just the fact that, like, our sort of the things that make us imperfect are the things that drag us down from going too far with it. And I just, you know, like, if Seymour's listening, I just want to say, like, we can go places, but we both need to commit. And yeah, like, that film, yeah, Seymour's a genius. He helped me do that, and he's like so into film school in Sydney, and to a proper one, and all these people, you'd say like, oh, do this on Adobe Illustrator or Premiere or, you know, all those programs, and they'll take ages to do it. Seymour can do it like boom. I'll say like, make that bird gold. He'll be like, boom. Make those clouds green. He'll be like, boom. Just off the tree, incredible at editing. And so that's where we're like perfect for each other. And what I want to get out of that now is I need to find an animator that does cartoons, like on multiple, because I have like the best ideas and stuff for that. So yeah, if anyone's listening that can animate or knows people that can animate with me, we do the best stuff, like me and Seymour, so come approach me. Yeah.
Sweet.
Right on.
How can people find you? Do you have like a
You know, like
Instagram or email or what? How can people reach out to you?
I think,
Do you have a page for Klaus Bass or something?
yeah, I think the best way to get at me is to go through my SoundCloud. If you type in KLAUS space BASS space, that is the way you can contact me. If you love me, go have a pee. Yeah. So,
All right. Sweet.
yeah.
And to roll back to Liebe Hart,
Yeah.
I just want to know more. Like, I put myself in your shoes in that scenario, and I can only guess how. I mean, I've seen the documentary, but it's one thing to be on that side of the screen, but to be, you know, actually there and
Luckily, I work.
I don't want to
with-
say, you know, like just dealing with him, like.
Luckily, I work with and understand a lot of mental incapacities that people have, including myself. Like, I can't say that I'm absolutely straight and narrow, like, mentally. Like, I have my own problems, as people listening could be like, oh, yeah, put money on that, you have problems, you know what I mean? No, but seriously, I do, and a lot of the people I work with do also. But the things that make us different also make us stronger and special.
Yeah,
So-
I agree with that. Yeah.
So Seymour, for instance, the things that make him lacking in social life make him absolutely incredible in another way. Same with me. Same with David Liebe Hart. Same with, and what I'm saying now to people is, if you don't understand yourself, age helps you with that. Once you get older, I never used to understand where I'm at, where I'm from, why I think the way I do, or why other people do. But when you get talking to people and socializing, you realize that the things that make you weak are the things that can make you stronger. And I truly believe that. And I think with David Liebe Hart and Tim and Eric and like me and like, you know, other people, it's just like, it's the way you milk your world to your own advantage, you know. And so like with David Liebe Hart, all the crazy things he did, all the crazy things he still does, all the, you know, that's the, to some people's perspective, is the low side of him. But the brilliant side is what keeps people captivated with this irony, you know. So
He's playing the hand that he was dealt, but he's like,
yeah,
living
like,
his best
can
life.
you name a person like him that is known in Australia, the distance from here to America? I mean, come on, it's nuts.
He kind of, well, yeah, definitely not. But he's sort of reminds me of like Daniel Johnson. Like he's got a, like he's you know, clearly got some sort of you know, disability, but he uses that to his advantage.
You know, like,
to create art.
I might get in trouble for this, but so so when we did that Liebe Hart film, I got a message from Jonah, his manager, and he's like, dude, yeah, we just got back home to America. And I was like, oh, how did it go? He's like, yeah, it was alright, but David threw out $6,000 into a bin in the airport and didn't even realize it.
In cash.
Yep.
Wow.
In an envelope. Yeah. So can you imagine that?
Oh my god.
$6,000.
Was that the money
Boom.
that they'd been paid
Yep.
by venues?
Yep.
So they got back. So they got back to
no.
America, stepped off the plane, with $6,000 in hand, which was the fruit of their labor from all their traveling.
Oh no, they made way more than that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. That was
So
like
this
part-
was
that
this is
obviously
still
like
this is
cash
still
tips and
this is
all
still
that, yeah.
$6,000
That's-
in hard-earned cash from
So
I'm
a
not
much
gonna
amount of
say
money.
what they made, but put
Yeah,
it this
don't,
way:
yeah.
like, when I saw them counting it on the bed, I was like, "Yippee for you!" Meanwhile,
How
I've
many
got,
dollars have you seen out of Liebe boobs so far?
Nothing. Goddamn nothing.
You have to monetize it somehow.
Oh,
Maybe this
it's
podcast can
monetized,
help
but
direct ad traffic to the YouTube page.
Hey, I think if I get in touch with multiple animators, the things that I want to do will manifest into a financial thing, but I never really think about that anyway, because like, even when I get paid for playing drums or like mastering records or doing something that I find fun, I still find it to be very bizarre, because I'm enjoying the thing I do. Wherever you go to work 9 to 5 and you dislike all the things you do, but you're getting the reward. So it's unusual still now to get a reward for things you like to do. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. I think we'll wrap it up there. I think that's a good sentimental note to leave the audience on.
I just want to say, wewe ni nani? Asante sana, sawa sawa, and matiti wango ni mkubwa. I'm learning Swahili, so I just want to say that to my Kenyan friends.
Right on.
Nice. What did you say?
It's in secret message.
The best way is to decipher it in text and translate it then it's more of like a gift to you rather than if I just tell you.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
just
gonna go the
easy.
extra mile and
Your
run it through
dopamine
some
level
Matt's
algorithms.
getting
like,
Google Translate out now.
All right, sweet. Well, Michael, thank you so much. I think we're gonna have to get you on again
Yeah, there's
You reckon?
there's
'cause,
plenty more to
there's
talk
a lot
about.
more to talk about. Yeah,
Maybe on the next episode.
yeah, cool. All right, thanks everyone.
Thanks.
Magumi.